All right, Irina. Many clients from all over the globe, they already educated about EB5 program. Before we get into getting a little bit more detailed and the current situation with EB5, we must say that the amount of investment has changed. 21st of November 2019, it is not 500, it is
900,000.
And I'm sure a lot of people are like, what's up?
Exactly.
That is true, but you know, we have been warning people for about 3 years.
Yes, every year we were.
I actually remember your ads on Facebook where you were warning people. It's like, guys, the laws are going to change, the amount's going to change. If you want to do something,
and every year it was like,
please do it now.
Thank you. I'm so glad that it was working. We really, I think the whole industry, we try to kind of warn the investors that when each time the program was up for renewal, everyone who was promoting and all the Congress people that wanted to renew the program also believed the amount needed to be changed because they haven't changed it since 1990. Mm-hmm. So the increase to 900,000 is fairly reasonable.
Yeah.
It is substantial because we were so lucky to have it at 500,000, but it's fairly reasonable. In United Kingdom, their similar program requires 2 million pounds. And Australia, $5 million.
Yep.
So it is, it's still comparatively a lower investment amount, but definitely a big difference.
For what it offers, exactly, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so EB5, tell us all about it.
All right. Well, that will take a few hours. So
no.
I'll tell you the key
points. Make it brief and we'll get back to it. And again, you can contact us at any time at 305-215-0036. All the messages to WhatsApp, to text message, whatever convenient for you, or the phone calls with any questions that you have. And I will address it with Irina.
Yeah, or come to the office.
Oh, yeah, totally.
We have a beautiful office. Come down to the office, we'll use it.
Yeah. So from Monday, yes, people can come in without the money.
Yeah, that's it. No more masks on Monday?
No, I mean,
we have to touch upon coronavirus. We haven't touched upon coronavirus.
Sorry. Here you go.
Oh, there we go. Here
Napkins.
Still complying.
Yeah.
No,
these are the times we live in.
We should do a corona update. I think we'll before I dive into EB5.
Let's touch upon that.
Surprisingly, corona update has not only has it not really affected work specifically with the EB5 investor visas, I have seen an increase. I have seen maybe a threefold increase in the number of approvals and the number of requests for documents that we're receiving from immigration. So this whole working from home thing has been working great for them. We're very grateful. They're doing a great job right now.
Yeah, the moment that they announced the quarantine, I started to receive so many phone calls and they were saying, I need to extend my visa, I need to extend my green card, I need to file my EB5, I haven't done it on time. And we were all like rolling our eyes and going, I don't know what's going to happen. And talking to Irina a little bit earlier today, she said, you know what, work at home actually improved the delivery of the immigration officers. Thank you for that, whoever is watching there. But yeah, it's
all the
it's
immigration officers out there watching
exactly.
us.
Yes.
We tip our hat to you good folks.
So thank you for doing a great job during this time.
Yeah.
So EB5, in general, the program requires for a foreign national to invest the minimum amount, which is $900,000, into a project that will generate 10 new U.S. jobs in the U.S. economy. So in theory, investors can do it themselves, invest into a new business, and grow it from...
What does it mean?
So you cannot buy a business with existing employees because existing employees are not going to count towards your job creation. And you cannot fire people and rehire new ones because immigration immigration doesn't look at the names of the employees, they look at the job positions in the business.
Bright example that I came to Irina in regards to the EB5. Client of mine is dealing for like 18 years with ALF facilities, medical facilities in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New York area, and it's been just suggested. I'm like, why are you opening 1 or 2 projects per year when you could attract the investors, give them a great opportunity to receive immigrational status. Therefore, it's a new project from scratch. And from my side, it's secured with land and the building. Okay, so there is always a bonus, a good thing about it. And that way you can go ahead and do your good deed and get your, let's say, cheap money, you know. So that's when we're talking about that you can invest the 900 yourself into EB5. So it would be in a project that need to be started from scratch, new employees, and a new situation, right? Totally new situation. Okay.
And so one option is the investor runs the business themselves, and the other one is the most popular one is the regional center option. So the regional center option is when an investor invests. They're called regional centers, but they're private enterprises in the United States that received a special license from the Immigration Department. That license allows this American company to pull together multiple EB5 investors, collect their financing in one pool, and to use it to build larger projects. So hotels, assisted living facilities, charter schools. This way, the investors basically are in a pool of a larger pool of investors, and the project is obviously provides more security because the investors' funds are actually guaranteed with the assets of the project. Great option. 95% of people who select the EB5 program choose to invest through regional centers.
And majority of the clients that I foresee over those years, and we've been, I think, 90% successful in getting the EB5. The clients 90? That I've 90 with me, 90 with me. You remember the clients that I had brought to you that initially?
I was like, I don't remember having denials, but yes, the ones that
families,
you brought me somebody who was struggling
who was
at that time.
already applied for a regional center with a different attorney. We didn't have such a good experience, and Irina was kind enough to actually get us out of the situation, consult, and I don't remember how it's ended up, but in my case, 90%, the ones that I did with you is 100% that they went through. That's why it's for me it's a lot of trust that I put into Irina and into her staff. So with the projects of the regional centers, and from my experience, I see that clients who are investing into regional centers, they want to see the name.
Oh yeah.
So they're like, oh, Ritz-Carlton, oh, ski resort, oh, Hilton, oh, there is like a huge insurance company that building a huge building with offices.
Let me ask Irina this: are all regional centers made the same?
Absolutely not.
I did not think so.
Are all real estate development projects the same?
I didn't think so.
Absolutely not. So I compare regional centers often to banks because at this point, successful regional centers are basically banks. They collect funds from investors. They do due diligence on the real estate projects they invest into, and then they loan the money to a specific project. And there are regional centers that have been doing this for years, and they have dozens of projects that they have financed, and they understand the requirements of the program.
A great reputation, yeah.
And I say go with the established regional centers because they have excellent legal teams that are tracking all the changes. They have excellent due diligence teams that actually review the projects you're investing into, because I just don't think a risk of getting involved with somebody who's brand new is worth it. Because you're not just risking your money, you're risking your family status. The last thing you want is to obtain maybe the initial green card, have your family start living here, have your kids go to college, and then
it goes to nowhere. It drops in. You lose the money, you lose the time, and it is questionable to renew, to update, to change the status or anything like that. I have a question from the clients.
Okay.
They say, I would like to invest into regional center, but pick me the one or consult me on which one. Obviously, with my expertise, I would never recommend. Not only that we legally don't have a right to do that, but for me it would be correct to say that, listen, in a previous, I had my clients already pass through, and we've been working with this regional center, and that's why maybe you should review that particular regional center, what the offerings that they make. In the other case, they ask, okay, I want the project that is more supported or somehow has a little bit of a local government or local authorities support to the project. Is there such a thing exists, like local government authorities or anything that creates that more trust for the client into the project?
So we do have some projects that sometimes are in the market that have different type of government involvement. Now, I think it's important to know, just because any government entity is involved does not necessarily make your project safer, because no government entity actually guarantees the return of your money. But sometimes we have benefits. For example, there are very successful charter school projects that are financed through EB-5.
Absolutely, yeah.
And here in Florida, we have more than 50. And the way those projects work is you have a private developer that obtains a government license called a charter to operate a school that will be accessible to the public. So the private developer builds the school, but because they already have the charter license, when kids start attending the school, the state actually pays for their attendance. So that's a good combination of the private-public type
and
of
local
project.
authorities having a support of that, absolutely.
Think about it. It's like you have your tenant, who is the government, and you have a guarantee check from the government for every child that studies at your school.
Or, for example, if there is a ski resort is built, and the developer, the project manager, the one who is borrowing the money, let's say, or taking the money from the investors for EB, they've put in their own money into the land, into the construction planning, into the architecture. They've borrowed a little bit of money of the local bank system or financial institution, and they've received, let's say, 100 numbers or 100 people or families who could invest that as an EB-5, as an opportunity for them. And that bank in particular, who gave them quite a percentage of the loan, let's say, says, when your project is successful, as per our history and work together, in 6 years we will refinance. So they have a contract up front when everything goes smooth, so your investors, EB-5 investors, can get out easily, receive their money back, because we're here giving you a contract that in 6 years will refi you. So would we call that as well as kind of a support and more strong situation for the investor to review in a project?
I think that's definitely. If you have a developer who is building a project, we always look at an independent appraisal of the final value of the project and what the cash flow is estimated to be. But we don't want to take the developer's word for it, because they will promise you what they want to promise you. We want them to hire an independent appraisal company, and most of them do. So that's a great example. If the appraisal comes in, and we know before the construction starts that once the building is finished, it's going to be worth more.
And the projection for it, yeah.
And then there's already a bank interest saying, look, in 5 years, we're going to refinance this and get your investors out. That's a great situation. And that's how most investors leave the EB-5 projects. They usually get paid out after about 5 to 6 years, depending on the contract. But usually a developer finishes the construction, lets the building work, whether it's a hotel or a ski resort, lets it work for a couple of years, so there's cash flow, and then they get low interest financing from the bank and pay out the investors.
And you, as an attorney, you're working with several regional centers. And as this morning I asked you, are you working with anybody exclusive? And she's like, I'm alone. It's only me, one Irina Rostova, right? So I work with everybody. This is a great thing to mention. When you hire Irina Rostova law firm, you are the client, you're the one who is hiring. So she's the one who is going to go ahead and check upon all the projects that are offered, listen to all all your needs and to go ahead and not to work for the regional center or for a realtor, Elena, and go with the way. No, she's hired by you guys, and it's a total confidentiality, and she will be the one who is doing the entire due diligence for the projects that you will be investing with the EB5. Is that correct?
So I provide, as an attorney, I do basically the legal consulting, or you can say legal due diligence. So I will go through the agreements with my clients. I will explain to them what position they will be in different projects, why the position is different in one project or another project. And so that way it helps to educate my clients and for them to make a decision where they feel like their interests are more secured. But you're right, absolutely. I represent the investors, and the investors pay me a legal fee. That's how they compensate me. I do not represent the interests of regional centers.
Absolutely, yeah. Meaning that there are regional centers that, for example, out of the 100 investors that are invited to participate in the EB5 program, let's say that they are only brought in at this point in time 20 people of the 100. And I have seen and foreseen that Irina would say, you know what, guys, it will take this regional center another year to go ahead and bring 80 people, so it delays the situation of the filing. So let's review something where there are only 5 or 2 or 3 spaces left, okay? And we'll go ahead and do the due diligence of that project. So when we're talking about that the attorney is working for you, it's your friend, it's somebody that you can trust to. Upon your request, who listens to you, they can explain to you where and in which project and what is the timeline, correct?
Yes, and that's exactly it. My biggest kind of concern is really for my investors to be able to get to step 2 and step 3, get their green cards, and to be able to remain here. And that's why I try to make sure that the investors have options, that they understand their options, so we can walk this path together and they have representation on my end.
And as we discussed before, there are such things as bad EB5 projects, like the one we had in Hollywood. Let's not name any names, but...
There are actually a few unsuccessful projects, specifically in Hollywood and Florida. It's surprising. There was like a whole bunch that happened at different times.
To be honest, 80%.
I actually want to be super specific. How did Circle turn out?
So I don't know all the details about Circle, but for some of the investors, it didn't. It actually is one of those great examples where the developer, instead of paying back, so in EB5, an investor invests, and you're supposed to get paid back in money from the developer.
But you can't be promised that.
After 5 years.
You cannot be guaranteed. There has to be a real business risk, and so you have to be investing in a real business. With the Circle project, at least one of the first ones that they did in that Circle, the developers' contracts said that instead of promising back the money, they just said, well, you're going to get an apartment,
square footage, yeah.
A square footage, and the immigration services said, absolutely not. This is an impermissible guarantee for the EB5 program, because instead of building a building and seeing if those apartments can be sold in the market,
they're in essence selling those apartments.
They're selling the apartments.
As an EB5.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And easier language to say, when I consult my clients in regards to the immigration status and to which attorneys to talk, I always tell them, EB5 program is where the government created that program specifically for you guys to bring the clean, registered, paid tax money into the country, invested to create the 10 spaces for work, right? 10 jobs. And by doing that, you're basically kind of guaranteeing that it is risk. We don't know if your money is going to be back ever in 5 years or whatever. There is a risk that you will ever receive the green card. But what we do from our side, we check out that regional center. So if to compare to
that is the difference between hiring Irina and hiring somebody else.
Yeah. I love this.
That Irina's going to get
Keep it going.
that
you
Irina's
guys.
going to get you down to the finish line where your family has an EB-5 visa and you got your money back, or you don't get an EB-5 visa and you don't get your money back. There are regional. When we researched this, I believe there's like thousands of regional centers throughout the years. Many of them closed. Many of them were open for about a year or two. Then they had their license rescinded by the government, or they closed for other reasons. So it's not like, when we speak about regional centers, some of our viewers might think that, maybe there's like 2 or 3 or 10. There's a lot of them.
That's
Irina, how many regional centers are there?
So you were right. There was in 2007 we had about 15. By 2015 we had over 1,000.
Yes.
A
lot of
and
them
80%.
have sort of closed down because they were at one point everybody wanted to have a regional center because they thought investors were just going to come in. Now I would say there's still a few hundred, but out of them I would say maybe 10 to 20 stand out for being real, solid,
a reputation and all that.
and they have the teams, they have the credibility, and I say why reinvent the wheel when you already have a company that has all the pieces that you want to succeed.
Especially when the price to play is twice now.
Unfortunately, guys,
And it's the same
We're
for
at
the
$1 million.
regional
We're at $1
center.
million these days. Almost.
Exactly. And it's like, do you want to invest through a brand new regional center or an experienced
Somebody with
one?
Exactly.
unfortunately, guys, this is it for us today, and hopefully we will have Irina here again. And we're looking forward to your comments, to your questions at 305-215-0036, Miami Real Estate Podcast with Elena Grady. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.